Hello YouTube, Tommy's Reptiles here, and in this video I will be showing you all of my frilled dragons. This little dragon right here is named Pickle, and she is an Indonesian frilled dragon hatchling. I currently temporarily have her in this fish tank, but all of the dragons in this video are in the process of getting upgrades. Pickle is a very good eater, and I've mainly been feeding her small mealworms and small crickets. I usually feed her on top of this rock, but it's also good when some insects fall, so she can exhibit natural hunting behavior. Some frilled dragons will drink out of a water dish, but most of my frilled dragons will usually only drink water if it's moving. I offer them water like this 2 to 3 times a day, and if they start drinking, I let them drink to their heart's content. You can see that baby Pickle doesn't really need to open her mouth to have a drink. Now I'm going to pick her up and show you how small she actually is. For being such a small and young dragon, she's actually pretty good at being handled. She's pretty calm. It's really hit or miss with frilled dragons. Some seem to not mind handling and some seem to hate it. All I know from my experience is the younger you get them, the better. If you start handling them a little bit each day, it really goes a long way. I'm excited to soon be able to move Pickle into a bigger, nicer enclosure. She will have more space to climb and hide. She will be moving in the next enclosure you're about to see when its inhabitant moves out. This is a 2x2 Toad Ranch enclosure that houses my juvenile Australian frilled dragon. Her name is Petal. She is a very nosy neighbor and is often looking out her window to check out what's going on. I'll give you a closer look inside. She has multiple vertical climbing branches, which is ideal because that's what they climb on in the wild. The background is actually a wraparound image of the Australian outback. I also got orange sand to match the background. And as always, every frilled dragon needs a heat lamp and a UVB light. She knows it's time to eat when she sees that white circle. She is a very good eater, but is very skittish, doesn't like being handled, and barely ever likes to drink water. But when my dragons start getting a little bigger, I like to bring them outdoors so they can get natural sunlight. And when she is outside, she is on high alert and doesn't want anything coming close to her. It's programmed in frilled dragon DNA to be on the lookout for birds. In the wild, they grip onto trees and blend in with the bark, or hide behind thick foliage. I like to offer my juvenile frilled dragons a wider variety of foods. That includes crickets, mealworms, hornworms, waxworms, dubia roaches, and an occasional pinky. And here you can see that she's not really a fan of getting wet. She typically only drinks a couple times a week. Now you'll see how she behaves outside. Her frill is fully displayed, and she's trying to scare me away. She may think that I'm a large bird of prey. Normally when I bring them outside to bask, I put them on a branch so they can feel more comfortable, but for the sake of this video, I wanted to show you what my frilled dragons look like on this table. She is my most feisty frilled dragon, and I've been putting a lot of time and effort into trying to calm her down, but as you can see, it's not really working. So normally when I put her outside to bask, I just place her on the branch and leave her alone until it's time to come inside, and then when I go to pick her up, she frills out again. I have a feeling that she may never calm down, but that's okay. If that's the case, I'll just leave her alone and let her be. It's time to put her back in her enclosure and get on to the next frilled dragon. You can see that she's gonna run right to her hiding spot behind that little bush. Next up, we're going to my garage to 2 temporary enclosures. This is a 4x2x2 dubia roach enclosure, which I really like, but frilled dragons need more vertical climbing space. This is another one of my females named Rattle. She is an Indonesian frilled dragon and is housed with my other adult Indonesian frilled dragon, Squishy. She is typically pretty docile and is a good eater and loves to drink water. Sometimes she'll let me reach my hand in and give her a couple scratches, but usually she runs away. But when I bring her outside, you'll see that she behaves different than Petal. She doesn't really frill up, she mostly just tries to run away. Even though my backyard is fully fenced in, I gotta be careful because they're very quick and there's a few spots that they might be able to wedge themselves under. As you can see, there's a huge difference in how she's being handled versus how my other one reacted to being handled. She's calm, collected, and docile, just on the lookout to see what's going on. I cannot wait to move her, Squishy, and my other adult moth into their upgraded enclosures. Next up, it's Squishy, the adult male Indonesian frilled dragon. He is probably my best eater and has the most random personality of any reptile that I've ever seen. Sometimes he's very calm, he'll let me pet him and he'll hang out on my shoulder, and other times he runs around like a madman. I'm hoping that eventually him and his enclosure mate Rattle will give me eggs. Half the time when I bring Squishy outside, he's calm and barely moves at all, and the other half he'll be running around, jumping all over the place. He seems to frill up at random times. He frills up when he eats, sometimes he frills up when he drinks. Usually my other frilled dragons only frill up when they're stressed or want to scare something away. As you can see, he's not really thirsty, but I spray them down anyways because it's good for their skin, helps them shed, and they come from a humid environment. I think that if you live in an area that has a close temperature and humidity to their native range, you should bring them outside to get them some natural sunlight. I also plan to build an outdoor enclosure where I can bring them when it's warm enough and keep them outside, possibly for months at a time. As you can see, Squishy's a little more relaxed than usual, so I take advantage of this time and check behind his frill. If a frilled dragon ever gets mites, they all congregate to this perfect hiding spot on the back of their frill, right there. I like to check this area right behind their frill a few times a month to make sure that they don't have any mites or stuck shed. I have gotten frilled dragons before that came with mites, and that was a nightmare. Luckily, I haven't had this issue in a long time, and I hope it stays that way. There's a few different methods that you can use to combat mites, but if possible, I recommend using the least amount of chemicals. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like when a frilled dragon runs. Most of the time I put Squishy on the ground, he runs to the door kind of like a dog. It's almost as it seems he knows exactly where he lives. Now it's time to put Squishy back in his enclosure so I can show you the last frilled dragon that I have. This is Moth, my half Australian, half Papua New Guinea frilled dragon. He is currently living in a grow tent that is 4 feet high, 2 feet wide, and 2 feet deep. He also has an enclosure upgrade that should be done within the next couple weeks. Moth is the first frilled dragon that I ever got. He is a great eater that usually eats a wide variety of insects, but I occasionally give him a frozen thawed mouse. He is also not thirsty, but when he does drink, he'll drink for like 2 minutes straight. He is by far my biggest frilled dragon, almost spanning 3 feet long. His claws are like talons, and if they get you, you're gonna have cuts all over your arm. He typically doesn't mind being handled indoors, but when outdoors, just like the other ones, he's scared of birds. He has a huge frill that's dark orange in color, and when he displays that, he's saying, "I'm not messing around here." But when he calms down and realizes that it's just me, he never refuses a few chin scratches. He shows me that frilled dragons are intelligent, and I feel like he could recognize who I am. I got Moth 3 years ago, and I have been working with him every day to get him comfortable with handling. He was the frilled dragon that I was talking about earlier who had mites when I got him. He is also the frilled dragon that taught me everything that I know now about keeping these guys. He showed me what they like, what they don't like, how to handle them, how to not handle them, and mainly how to keep them the best way possible. And of course, I'm checking him for mites again. Soon, I'll post a video showing all my frilled dragons getting enclosure upgrades. I really hope that you guys enjoyed watching this video, and if you have any frilled dragon videos you'd like me to make in the future, let me know. Thank you for watching Tommy's Reptiles.